started as an ordinary Tuesday night drive on a back road outside Chillicothe, headlights cutting through the usual Ohio fog rolling off the Scioto River. Then, the car radio cut to static, the engine sputtered, and a triangle shape the size of a football field paced the vehicle at 30 miles per hour. The driver pulled over and watched three white lights hold a perfect equilateral formation with no sound whatsoever. Whatever was above that road did not behave like a drone, a blimp, or anything registered in civilian airspace. Silence is what people always mention first, not the lights, not the size, but the absence of any sound where sound should be. A craft that large, moving, that slowly through dense air would generate noise you'd feel in your chest before you heard it. There was nothing. Just fog, stillness, and a geometry that had no business floating above a county road in southern Ohio. What makes this account land differently than a blurry phone video or a campfire story is that it isn't alone. Ross County has been collecting nights like this one for decades. That triangle on the back road wasn't a one-night event. Ross County has been collecting stories like that for decades. Farmers, night shift workers, and teenagers driving home have all filed the same basic report. Something structured, something silent, something that didn't belong in an Ohio sky. The National UFO Reporting Center lists Ross County among Ohio's most consistently active zones, and that word, consistently, is the one that should unsettle you. Random sightings scatter across a map without logic, but these cluster along specific corridors, the same roads, the same fields, the same river valley, year after year. What is it about this particular patch of south-central Ohio that keeps pulling these things back? The land here is old glacial terrain, carved by the Scioto River into a series of low hollows and wide floodplains that funnel fog and swallow sound. Witnesses describe a stillness that arrives just before a sighting. Birds gone, insects quiet, the air feeling wrong in a way that's hard to explain but impossible to ignore. And almost every account that involves a glowing sphere traces back to the same source, the river itself. The Scioto River runs quiet through Ross County, and most nights it gives nothing away. But witnesses along its banks have watched something rise from the water's edge, a glowing sphere, amber or white, climbing in total silence. It doesn't drift the way a lantern drifts, and it doesn't arc the way a flare arcs. It ascends, deliberate and vertical, like something with a destination. Farmers working the bottomland have stopped their equipment and stood there, watching it clear the tree line and hold position above the fog. What unsettles them isn't the light itself, it's the patience of it, the sense that it's orienting before it moves. Multiple witnesses on separate nights have described the same behavior. Rise, pause, then a lateral shift so clean it looks mechanical. The Scioto corridor has produced enough of these reports that researchers treat it less like a location and more like a source. Whether that source connects to the triangles pacing the back roads or operates on its own entirely is a question the sky above Ross County hasn't answered yet. The spheres rise and vanish, but something else entirely chooses to stay. Out over the open farmland east of Chillicothe, witnesses describe a shape that sits in the sky like it owns the air beneath it. A disk, flat, wide, and utterly silent, hovering maybe 200 feet above a cornfield at 2 in the morning. No navigation lights, no engine sound, no drift in any direction, just a craft holding position with a precision that no helicopter pilot could match. And it doesn't move for minutes at a time, which is the part that starts to change how you feel about it. A plane passing overhead is an event. It crosses your sky and it's gone, and you forget it. This thing stays, and the longer it stays, the more it stops feeling like a machine and starts feeling like attention. Farmers have stepped outside to find their fields lit from above with a cold, diffuse glow, and the livestock already silent before they ever looked up. Whatever these discs are doing over Ross County, they are not passing through. Every witness who describes these lights lands on the same two colors, orange and blue, trading places with a precision that feels almost deliberate, not blinking like a strobe, not fading like a flare, but shifting, each color holding for exactly the right beat before the other takes over. Commercial aircraft run red and green on fixed cycles because the FAA demands it, and those cycles never change based on what's below them. These lights do. Witnesses describe the pattern accelerating when a car slows down and settling when the car moves on, as if something overhead is reading the road. You've seen a plane blink in the dark and thought nothing of it. But would you think nothing of a light that seemed to notice you back? The colors aren't random noise from a distant source catching atmosphere at a bad angle. They're consistent across accounts separated by years and miles, reported by people who never compared notes. That kind of consistency doesn't come from coincidence, and it doesn't come from misreading a landing light. What it might come from is the question that keeps Ross County witnesses awake, and the silence that arrives before the lights even appear makes that question harder to dismiss. Before any light appears in the sky, something else arrives, and witnesses describe it the same way every time. The crickets stop, the wind drops, and the low hum of distant traffic on US 35 simply ceases to exist. It isn't gradual, the way natural quiet settles over a field at the end of a warm evening. It's a cut, total and immediate, like someone pulled the audio feed on the entire county. You've probably experienced a moment of unexpected quiet and felt your body tighten before your mind caught up with why. That instinct is older than language, and it's telling you the same thing it told every witness standing in those Ross County fields. Something has changed in the environment around you. Researchers who study close encounter reports call this the Oz effect, a sensory blackout that precedes the object's appearance, not its departure. Silence doesn't follow the lights in Ross County, it announces them. And once the headlights on those back roads start going dark, the silence is the least of it. Something changes the moment one of these objects drops below 300 feet and holds position over a road. Engines don't sputter or cough, they simply stop, as if the ignition never existed in the first place. Drivers on Delano Road and Blaine Highway describe the same sequence every time: lights out, dash dead, and then that absolute pressurized silence pressing against the windows. The electromagnetic field, a structured craft generates at close range, is strong enough to collapse the voltage in a standard 12-volt system almost instantly. What's remarkable isn't the failure itself, it's how specific the geography is, clustering on low-lying roads where fog pools and the Scioto bottomland opens wide on both sides. You're not just losing your car, you're losing it in a place that seems almost designed to hold you there. The fog closes behind you, the tree line disappears, and whatever is above you has all the time it needs. So what does it mean when a county this size produces this many events with this much physical evidence, and nobody outside Ohio is paying attention? 7 encounters, 1 county, and not a single explanation that holds up under pressure. The triangle that paced a car on a back road, the spheres that rose from the Scioto like they belonged there, the disc hanging motionless over an empty field at midnight. They don't feel like accidents. They feel like a pattern that Ross County keeps generating whether anyone is watching or not. The fog fills the hollows, the headlights go dark, and something overhead adjusts its position with a precision that no turbine or rotor can match. You've heard 7 of these accounts now, and the details don't scatter. They stack. The same silence, the same geometry, the same river valley pulling strange light down from an Ohio sky that was never as empty as it looked. Whatever is moving above Ross County at night isn't lost, and it isn't random. It's returning.